This is an interview with Mr. Herman Lodge, Waynesboro, Georgia, Burke County, on September 6th, 2002. And it's for the Oral History Project of Georgia Legal Services program. And I always ask people kind of first about your upbringing and kind of the path that took you first to the Burke County Improvement Association and then to involvement with legal services later on. So I'm going to start there. I know you're native of Burke County, is that correct?
Yeah. At least I was born here.
Right. And maybe you kind of talk about, what would you talk about sort of Burke County of your childhood? Maybe you could describe either Waynesboro or the county, you know, when you were growing up. So how would you describe?
It's hard to describe.
Okay.
Because the house I live in now, it was 2 doors down, but we all really raised up.
Okay.
And then my mother and father bought a house down on Wall Street. It just didn't seem like a neighborhood I was in.
Right. Was that unusual for a family to be able to buy a house at that time?
No, I don't think so. I was small, so I didn't know.
Okay. Let me ask maybe another question. Kind of, what values did you get from your parents? What did your parents teach you? What values did they pass on to you?
My parents,
Yeah.
my mom and dad thought that I go to school and go off to college. They thought of that. I don't have to really make no explanation. My mother wanted to see me go to school. And she did too.
So she made sure.
That's right. Cut my right hand.
And you graduated, and I know you went to Fort Valley.
Right.
Correct. What did that, I'm just kind of curious, you know, what kind of stuff you learned out of college, or what, I'm not talking about biology or whatever, but kinds of, what did going to college mean for you?
Well, put a little change in my pocket. 'Cause I finished, and I had drafted in the army. I came back and got 1 or 2 jobs. And then I started working at the VA in Augusta.
What kinds of things did you see or do, or where did you go when you were in the Army?
Went to Fort Knox, Kentucky. I left there and I went overseas, France and Germany. And I saw around. I could get around.
This is, I guess, right after the Army had become desegregated.
I guess it was, I was in all that money after I finished school. It's full Right.
Coming back, you said you had a couple of jobs. I believe, didn't you teach in Greensboro for a while?
Taught 1 year.
Okay. And then from there went on to the VA hospital?
Yeah.
Had you learned to do where had you learned how to do physical therapy?
Yeah. My major was health and physical education.
Okay.
So it wasn't hard for me do the things that I actually went to a therapy. They call it corrective therapy.
Okay. Okay.
It's VA.
The VA. Corrective therapy.
Yeah.
But what kind of, maybe you could speak to what having a job at the VA kind of gave you.
Well, it did me good because of the fact my own experience in going there and my physical experience. And I just about knew all the techniques, programs. And so I did it. I left from there after what I stayed about 20 years or more.
I was just kind of wondering what kind of, what did you get out of that job that, how did that job compare more or less to jobs that might have been more around here that weren't U.S. government?
Well, I go to work, I get paid, I knew what I was doing. And we had swimming pools and gyms, and I conducted all the activities in. And it was nice. My only problem was getting from Waynesboro to Augusta.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was a narrow road, and I had to get up early to go up there.
So just the length of the drive and so forth was.
Well, I like to drive, but the road is narrow.
I was wondering more in terms of independence that job gave you compared to other people that might have had jobs here around Waynesboro.
Well, it did. You know how much money you're gonna make. You're gonna make a decent salary. And the supervisors use you, and they didn't dog you around. They give you an assignment, you do it, and you don't have nothing to worry about.
So you were a bit more, protected or not as vulnerable maybe as some people around here have been.
Well, when you get up there, they had security officers, and they could protect you from. And I was over at the mental section, and we had to put them in the pool and warm water. At least you calm them down some.
Right. So then, moving up a bit, I was curious about this episode at the Piggly Wiggly that played a role in the founding of the Burke County Improvement Association, how that all came about.
Well, Piggly is where the Family Dollar is now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's more. I went in there to get something I can't recall now. But young lady on the cashier threw some money. I made a statement. You could just lay the money down, I would fix it up. So then I had to run in with the police.
What's that?
So I'm used to it. And anyway, it turned out all right. I just lost $5, I believe.
So how exactly then did that lead to the Burke County Improvement Association?
Well, first we had to try to find organizational structure. Then we got a charter. And then we had to operate to convince some of these people that we were doing the right thing.
How'd you go about that, convincing?
Well, we took them to court.
Well, okay. Over which kinds of things first before you got into districting and so forth?
Well, they took me to court. I don't know how much I paid, it wasn't much. But then we got the Burke County Improvement Association, and then we started hiring lawyers that would help us.
Over which kind of issues? Which kinds of things? What areas?
Yeah, you convince these local people. And we had law firms, Georgia Legal Service, and they would help us get local lawyers. So we did all right.
Now, what did I hear about this beauty pageant? What was that?
About what?
Miss Burke County. Wasn't there like a beauty pageant? Miss Black Burke County?
Yeah, how, you can tell how long that's been. Yeah, Miss Black pageant. Huh?
And why was that created? Why did you get that?
Well, you give the young ladies an opportunity to say their looks. And they got funds for go to school, to college, everywhere. So it has helped us.
Again, the idea of education, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a coalition I saw of all the different organizations in the.
Yeah, we started, you don't see it now. But then we had groups of all the black organizations. And they would come, they would help them. Not like now. Everybody get an education. They forget about where they came from. You have to constantly ask them. They get involved.
Well, how did you go about it 30, 40 years ago in terms of getting people involved, getting this coalition together, working in a county as big as Burke County is? You know, what were some of the things that you did to get things going?
Back in them days, people wanted to do something. They were put in jail for speaking. And they gradually got out of it. Now they're helping more. Because most of them have jobs. Most of them can take care of themselves. And you know where you came in, had a lot of houses. The black folk had bought a bill.
I'm interested in you maybe passing on some of the lessons about how to be an effective organizer. As you were organizing, you were getting out there.
No, you have to not want that much. And you gotta find a way so you can help these folk who don't understand. I've been on the county commission now 16 years, and she wanna keep me off. I'm gonna do one more term and give it to some younger folk.
I'm talking about, I mean, you said you have to get people to understand who don't understand. How would you go about doing that?
Well, you got
Things to, yeah.
one of the things you have to do is you got to try to find a way to get to these people. I speak to all of them. My wife speaks to all of them. And then they will help you. And then you can talk to them and get things done. But just because you live in a house and drive a car doesn't mean you gotta be able to convince these folk. I'm on the same level you are. And we try to get on the same level where we can do something together. It's probably like my wife over there do me. I know that.
So showing folks that you were on the same level, that you weren't above them.
No.
What other kind of approaches did you have to kind of organize people, get them involved in everything?
We formed these organizations like Burke County Pro. And then you wanted these folk to feel that they were part of it. And there were a lot of organizations that got started. It didn't bother me. But that's what I wanted. People were involved. You could talk to them and get the word out to somebody. I think we have to.
So after Burke County Improvement Association, you say other people began, even in other organizations, to get more interested, get more involved. speak for themselves, have a voice?
Well, you got NAACP started several groups, and individuals started their own groups. It looked like social, but they got a lot of things.
Okay.
As my what are some of the organizations you with?
Organizations that were like social organizations seemingly, but on the other hand, got people organized and voting and participating and things like that.
Right, maybe each group would, join in as a coalition, each club group,
Such as whom?
such as different social clubs that form the coalition.
Okay. And
About
so,
20-some clubs, or maybe, maybe in the teens or whatever.
okay. And kind of then what would be their connection to the coalition in terms of sort of moving things forward or whatever?
Where they would, support, they would, join, with a small fee, join the coalition with a small fee, and then they would, support like voter registration.
Let's talk about voter registration then. If either of you can remember sort of early efforts, talking 60s, even before Voting Rights Act, or maybe even after that too, early efforts to try to register voters, and maybe some of the things that were obstacles you had to overcome.
That's true.
Well, I mean, what kind of things do you recall about early voter registration efforts and the kinds of things you had to kind of get over or overcome, in those.
Well, it was kind of.
You want to hang on? I can get a mic.
Hold on, yeah, let's-
It was kind of.
no, we'll get a mic.
Yeah. Just want to say.
This will become.
All right.
Okay, so Mrs. Lodge, maybe you could describe some of the early efforts at voter registration and some of the obstacles you all faced in terms of doing that.
Where we used to maybe go to certain, maybe grocery stores and, set up a place, always get permission. And of course you had to go through the kind of procedure before you could do that. Like you had to be highly informed as to how to carry out this voter registration. And so this was done. You just couldn't go there and set up a table and get your papers and start work. You had to have a little training. So, the clubs would get the members selected from that club. If they wanted to work with it, they would get that going. And some people would register and some would not, because it seems as if it might have been a little fear, somewhere. Somebody might know because know that you're registered because a while back you just didn't think that your vote was going to count, and so it just kind of went from one generation to another as to whether your vote was really going to count or not. So you might have a little bit of it now, but it's not as prevalent as it was.
Let's talk about that, how you would kind of try to overcome that fear.
Well, a lot of candidates, started coming and expressing the desire to, become whatever they were running for, so they could help in this area and help in that area. So that kind of helped a lot.
So this is after the Voting Rights Act.
Right.
In other words, when people recognized that there was potential.
Right, and they needed your vote.
Wasn't it true that once upon a time the only place you could register was the courthouse itself?
Right, that's exactly right. That's where I registered. We registered there.
Do you remember when you registered yourself? First time?
It was in the 50s. It was in the 50s.
And what
Shortly after we got married.
What prompted you to do that?
Well, we just wanted to see what it was like to vote and to see how we would be treated. And we were asked, did we know certain phases of the Constitution? And, you know, we did. It hadn't been long got out of school, so we kind of, you know, were abreast with some of it, not all of it. You know, you couldn't learn but so much at a time, so you learned what you had to learn. But they let us vote, register. And my husband, she asked him what was his occupation. So he told corrective therapist, corrective therapist. And she spelled it wrong. And he was trying to correct it, but she didn't want him to correct it. So it should be on that paper now, the same way.
That'd be an interesting document to find.
But
So
we have grown a lot. We have grown a whole lot. And people are not as afraid now to, you know, put their names in certain places that would be checked later.
So it's not just a maybe about fear, it's a real reality. Fear played a big role back in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
Maybe you could talk a bit more about that. Fear, intimidation.
Well, the freedom of choice, I guess that kind of opened up, you know, avenues.
About schools, you know.
Right. My husband used to be away a lot when maybe one black child might have been going to the high school, and at that time, and they had to go out at night and kind of patrol around to see what was going on.
I heard about something. Can you tell me about that episode?
And
it was a girl, right?
Right, it was a girl. She was a Holmes. But anyway, this particular reason they did that because her home had been shot in two. And they said the bullet went right over her bed. And so this is what prompted them to go out into the community near her house and stake a watch out.
Let's go back and tell the whole story from the beginning. This is a girl who was one of the students who used the freedom of choice.
Right.
One of the very few.
Right.
Who had the courage to kind of
step out.
And then, so what happened? And her name was Holmes?
I can't think of her first name right now.
Okay, you remember Mr. Lodge? The Holmes girl?
I know it was.
Okay.
It was one of Mr. Bill Holmes' relatives. Might have been his grandchild or.
Mr.
Bill Holmes, remember him.
Okay. So then she goes to Waynesboro High School, right?
Right.
And then what happened?
Well, she kept going. That didn't stop her.
Well, what's that we're talking about? What happened to her?
They never did find out who did it.
Who did what?
Who shot over her bed. That was never found out.
So there was shots over the bed, is what you're saying?
Right.
Once she had gone to school.
No, she was in bed. They tell me that, you know, at night, this is what happened. They said she was in bed and, you know, the shot just went over her bed.
And so then what was the response of the black community?
To stake a watch out. And they did.
Any cooperation with the sheriff or police?
Well, I think it was when she was on the bus. But I think they kind of patrolled, but you know, not all time. So they were out there.
So every night.
One shift, another one.
You're saying every night there'd be a shift of men.
Right.
Armed.
They were armed.
They were armed.
So, but they did talk with the policemen and sheriff department and whatnot. So I don't know what extent it was for that.
And you say her grandfather, Bill Holmes, or
I'm not too sure. I just say
he was one of Bill Holmes. Okay, he was one of the men involved.
Mr. Gilbert Howard too, wasn't he?
Gilbert Howard. They were among the men who organized this kind of.
They helped organize the Burt. Yeah, right. All this stemmed from the Burt County Improvement Association.
What's the connection?
Well, the connection is the togetherness. When they organized, they had togetherness, and everybody, you know, was looking out for each other, trying to help
And Burke County Improvement had kind of set the stage or paved the way.
Right, the first organization that I know about, you know, that was first organized.
Do you remember some of the efforts that, challenges I should say, kind of getting it off the ground and getting it going? And
Well, the incident that he was saying something about the incident at Piggly Wiggly.
yeah,
Had you ever heard of that
I
one?
have, but you tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, this was a school young fella. I would say maybe high school, maybe just entering high school, and he went in Piggly Wiggly where he just started the location,
Yeah.
and right, and he went in to get a pack of cigarettes or whatever, and it wasn't given to him like he thought it should have been given to him, and he's, you know, kind of said that nothing harmful or whatever, you know, you could have handed to me, and she didn't accept it too well, and the cops were called, and he was handcuffed and taken away. And this is where the Burke County Improvement, they decide we have to get something so we can go under a name or something and, you know, get organized and even though we have to do anything, you know, we'll be doing it legal. And they did. And, you know, the organization was chartered and whatnot.
Do you remember who some of the original members, in addition to you and the president?
Reverend John Ellis was the first president of Burke County Improvement Association.
He was at
He was at Presbyterian Church.
And who else were some of the early members or leaders of the?
George Israel Robinson. Well, of course, Herman Lodge. And
his wife.
I'm trying to think of some ladies. It's Nana Ficklin. And boys, it was a good many. Because see, some maybe had fear yet, and they still supported you. And a lot of them were teachers too, and they couldn't come out in the open because they would lose their job. You know, being mixed up in certain things that they thought maybe might have caused them. And this is all that they could do right then.
Anything behind the scenes that they would do? I mean, if they're afraid to.
They would support you any other way that they could, but not openly.
Yeah, when you say any other way that they could, such
You know,
as.
you know, if you needed finance or different types of things.
In addition to the teachers, you know, how would you?
These were the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't come out openly.
How else would you try to kind of overcome, not an imaginary fear, but a real fear that people had? And what kinds of things would you do to kind of advance the work?
Well, I guess we just went on from day to day, hoping and praying that situations would get better, and you know, people would just be cooperative to each other. And this is, you know, both groups.
Both groups.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had some, you know, whites who would, you know, still talk with you and share your concern.
Okay, so what kind of very specific activities or areas would Burke County Improvement Association get involved with after it began? It kind of began because of this episode of dispersing.
Right.
But then sort of earlier activities into the 60s and so forth that Burke County Improvement would get. What were some of the areas of concern, things that you moved on, that kind of thing?
So, well, I'm trying to think of other things other than voter registration.
Well, we can talk about voter registration.
We
Let's do that because that will lead into the suits and so forth. What did the courthouse mean for black residents in Burke County? What did it kind of what were it sort of symbolize?
Well, I think they kind of thought that was a place that maybe you could get certain things done, but it was just outstanding that justice was not given to you rightly. You know, in certain instances.
Yeah.
If you got in trouble, you know you was going to be carried there for sentencing or a hearing or whatever, you know. And they you know, it just, time just had to grow into, maybe this is a place where we need to go and get things settled. It's a good place to go in some cases, you know, so we can get things, you know, on the go, courthouse. Some got married at the courthouse. Well, that was good. So, you
Yeah.
just...
But I'm just talking about, for lots of people, the courthouse.
It wasn't because they didn't see any blacks there doing anything, working or whatnot. I think it might have been one person that, I don't even know the lady's name, but she was the maid and janitor too and everything.
And you're saying she was like the one
Right,
black employee.
right.
Okay.
There was a tape or something a while back there that somebody played, and the county administrator, I don't know whether you all ever got that tape or not, but you know, he was being interviewed. How many blacks did you have in your area working?
Was it Billy Hopper?
Right, he said one, so it was one. I don't know how long that one had been there, but I didn't know what one.
And what about grand juries?
Um,
Or grand juries and juries?
yeah, it was a while. I can't go too far back with
I'm just
that.
talking about the courthouse, what it meant to people. You said
right.
justice, sentencing,
Right.
people working there. What about presence of black people on the jury, or lack of presence?
Well, it took, to me, it took a while for your name to come up to be on jury.
What person
I
did
don't know.
you kind of like, you know, the courage or motivation to get involved in this kind of level?
I think now they pick black and brown.
For the grand jury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you go up there, you'll see them up there.
Could you start that thought again, sir? I wasn't quite ready. Could you say that again?
I think, yeah.
I know now that blacks are up there, and they are put on the roll, and they're asked to come up there, and as a grand jury, all those jurors.
Wasn't that one of the first lawsuits over the jury system, over jury selection?
I don't know.
Okay.
We have so many.
Well, let's get back to the whole political process. Now we'll start with voter registration.
Okay.
You were saying about, going to say something about voter registration?
Well, the Burke County Improvement Association, they, you know, initiated it. Voter registration, like going from, you had to have training. I think I mentioned that you had to have training before you got, you know, any vote, anything to work with. And after receiving that training, then you could go to their homes or their certain location. You know, maybe door to door, or either at certain locations. But I don't know whether these were laws or whatever, or rules or what, you know, it's kind of passed along that you know, you don't go, I think, to the house. You know, you would just have a central place. And then this last, well, I guess you can still have your, you know, your voter registrations in certain spots, but you can mail it You don't have to do like you used to do. They mail it.
How important was it to get voter registration somewhere other than the courthouse?
It was real important because some people didn't have transportation to, to get, to the courthouse. So,
You remember taking people into the courthouse to register for the first time ever?
most times I help in different areas, like a central place here. We would say like Harvest, I'm just saying Harvest or Piggly Wiggly or wherever. Most times I help
Harvest is
in,
Woodrow.
Maybe a central place, maybe Head Start. And the last I didn't help, but a club did help with the Head Start location, just that area.
Is
to
it
get
true,
this.
speaking of Head Start, that Burke County Improvement helped?
Initiated that.
We'll talk about that.
They did.
How did that come about?
Well, at first, it was just like a Saturday school where we would, ask and publicize that the children could come to school for maybe the smaller kids, the Head Start type children would come to school that was on Saturday, and this was at this main Head Start building up here on 9th Street. It was located there, maybe for about 3 hours, or 2.5 or 3 hours. And we got volunteers, to help supervise these children and to give them some little activities. And they did, different ones. Most of these were people who were working in the school system at that time and interested community people who wanted to help. And from that, we didn't do that maybe about 2 years. And then again, Burke County Improvement Association got funded for Head Start. And this is where Head Start picked up at different locations. It was up here at the school at first, Blakeney School at first. And then something, I think Blakeney had some type of school, but we went out to Boggs Academy. That's what it was called at that time. And I think maybe about 2 years out there. So it was just, kind of shifting from one to the other.
What other programs, federal
funded program.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what other kind of federally funded programs, in addition to Head Start, did Burke County Improvement help bring into the community?
Let me see now. Other than Head Start.
EOA?
Okay.
Or, OEM rather, or Community Action, or?
Yeah, Community Action. What is this?
Job training.
Over at Davis Park. What was that, Herman? CSRA? Because everything had to go under some chartered organization.
CSRA, what was that?
With Central Savannah River Authority. And that hasn't been too long closed. Over at Davis Park. What was that?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's not funded now, so it's closed, but the program is closed.
Well, how did you all know about how to get these federal programs to come to Burke County?
Well, different people would go to different meetings from these organizations, and that's how they started applying for grants and things like that.
So, despite the fact that you still had no real political power in terms of electing people and representation, you're still being able to bring some stuff in, provide things for the people.
Right, and they really appreciated that because everything had a backing. That was Burke County Improvement Association again, and it's been chartered a long time, so that was mainly, I think, the organization that stood behind everything that was brought in.
we talk about federal programs, one of them, of course, is legal services.
Right, Georgia Legal Services. Right, and you know, they have done a lot of good, and they still come and do a lot. You know, they go up to Head Start, and they're there once a month, you know, for any information that you might need concerning Georgia Legal Service. And they are there, you know, to help.
Now, do you remember the early days of legal services when people like Bob Cullen began to come into Burke County?
I remember. We were located on Liberty Street, right on the corner of Liberty Street and 7th. Corner of Liberty Street and 7th. And it was just, you know, it was just amazing how they, you know, could pick up the telephone and call someone in Atlanta or someone in Augusta, and they would have you an answer, you know, before that day was over. And I always did like Georgia Legal Service because it seems to be an organization that's just at your fingertips.
So they actually had an office here after
Yeah,
a while.
they had it. Well, the first office was up in right across here. We call it the Molly Pope House. That's the historical site,
Okay.
one street over. It's a little white house there. That's where they were housed first. Okay, and they moved down on Liberty Street. And then when they closed on Liberty Street, they moved back to the place where it started, if I make no mistake.
And what kind of things would they be doing? You said you'd always have an answer to what kind of issues or questions or whatever.
Well, just legal procedures. If somebody had been, they thought if they had been treated wrongly, or just information about a free lawyer, or you know, just didn't have the money to afford certain things. And the Georgia Legal Service would, you know, like I said, pick up the telephone and see what they could do about it, or write it up.
I saw where one of the lawyers from Georgia Legal Service, I believe it was Bob Cullen, said that they had to begin to develop trust with the community for a while, you know, just kind of because there had been a history maybe of people abandoning the community beforehand, and they wanted to show that they were here to stay. Is that kind of the way you remember it, or what do you recall, Mr. Lodge, about through that early period when Georgia Legal Services began to come into Burke County? Hold just a second. When Georgia Legal Services came into Burke County.
Bob Carter, Dave Warwick,
David Warwick.
yeah.
What about him?
Well, just about at the end, they would come to help. That's how I got elected out of the county commission. Those guys came and told me what I needed to do. Another time, we went to the Supreme Court. And,
Tell me more.
huh?
Tell me more about that.
How many that went up there?
It was a bus for citizens, black citizens.
And I guess that was all the time they saw as many black folk in the Supreme Court. But they did us some good. Just taking those folk up to the Supreme Court and let them listen to those lawyers and supporting us. And now it's much better.
How so?
They don't say nothing to me. You know, my wife can go to the courthouse and tell them what they want. And since we got some blacks who's doing down there working. It has helped me in the morning I go down to see these black. They come to work just like everybody else come to work. And they're getting paid. It does me a lot of good. Seeing blacks in there at these desks, helping other black people. How some of us don't do what we're supposed to do. Some of the people think they can walk in that courtroom and the judge is gonna let them free. And that ain't true. You gotta fight for yourself when you go in there. I might want to take y'all down there when you get ready to go.
To the courthouse. So how do you feel about all that? You know, the changes that have happened in Burke County.
Huh?
Tell me what, that means to you. These changes, the changes that have taken place in Burke County, how important it all is.
Well, it's nice to me. And my wife and other blacks who work in there.
Mrs. Lodge, maybe we could ask you that question too, which is, I wonder if you...
The changes in Burke County has improved somewhat for the general, just in general, for the betterment. Because this carried me, when you ask that, this carried me way back. When I first started voting, we had to vote outside through the window. It's like on the side of the courthouse, facing Liberty Street. It was a box there, and it was a lock that they could, open and go into it anytime they got ready. But, you didn't feel so secure with your vote, Now, I remember that. Now, that stood out in my mind, and it still stands out, how we had to vote, okay? If it rained, you could go inside and cast your vote in this little locked box. So I don't know how many folk, remember that. But some of them may not, because they may not have registered. So you can't go by, yeah, you were here during that time, but were you registered to vote? So that stood out in my mind. So now it has improved, because now we can go inside, and just a few people might have a key to whatever, and you're being watched and observed too. So, I can vote in a little bit more peace and harmony.
Peace, harmony, sounds like security.
Yeah, security, a little bit more secure. You feel more secure now than you did back then. So those are some of the improvements. I can see them. If you were involved in those kind of activities, you can kind of tell the progress that was made from back there up until now. Like I said, if you weren't registered, you can't. You just know what other people say.
But you had registered.
Yeah, I know, because I went to vote and it was locked.
Maybe, Mrs. Lodge, you could tell us your version of the story that led to the Supreme Court decision.
Well, just to say that, you just didn't feel secure. You just, I don't know, you just felt like somebody was doing something that they shouldn't do, to race. That's the only thing I can come up with right now. And we just didn't know whether it was fair or unfair, but you felt deeply that it was unfair.
But you did know.
So it's just, it's just you can see the improvements, but you just want to, you hated to go to the Supreme Court with all this. I'm reading some of this now. If you don't mind, I'll read this right here. It said, Burke County is a large, predominantly rural county located in eastern Georgia. 831 square miles in area, and it's approximately 2/3 the size of the state of Rhode Island. According to the 1980 census, Burke County had a total population of 19,349, of whom 10,385, or 53.6%, were black. The average age of blacks living there is lower than the average age of whites, and therefore whites constitute a slight majority of voting age population.
What are you reading from?
This comes from Supreme Court of the United States, Rogers versus Lodge. And I was looking in here too. Burke County, Georgia, like many southern counties, has a history rooted in slavery, discrimination, and plantation life. But Burke County is significantly different than many counties in the South. The resistance to equal rights for blacks has been worse there than in virtually all other Georgia counties. That's enough to tell us a little bit right there.
It's a lot. So now, what do you remember about when the students filed, and what happened during the time from late 70s up to the Supreme Court decision? What do you recall about the suit, the first hearing before Judge Lima?
I didn't attend all those. Herman did. He went to Washington, D.C. and other places, Augusta. I don't think they had too many in Waynesburg.
No, I don't think it was Augusta, I think. Did
But,
you go on the bus yourself?
No, I didn't go on the bus. I wish I had brought that. I don't know, Reverend Smith gave me a picture
Of the bus?
of the bus, and on the inside of the courtroom, he had little spots of who was there.
On the Supreme Court?
Right, the Supreme Court. Yeah, Reverend J.J. Smith. I don't know whether I call his name or not, but he was a good supporter of the Burke County Improvement Association too.
And he had taken a photo?
And it's another. Well, Miss Harvey has a picture. I don't know whether we got a picture or not. A picture of the people who went. Woodrow Harvey.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now I heard you all were in Valdosta at one of your
Right.
when the
We
decision
were.
came down.
We were, and they wanted us to come home immediately. So it's kind of hazy what went on after then. I can't get all that together.
Okay. What do you recall at the moment that you heard of the decision?
Where the case had been won. That's the only thing I can kind of put together right now.
Did you go to any of the hearings?
No, I didn't. I didn't go. But it's been a long struggle, and it's been a rewarding type thing. It took time. It wasn't done in 2 or 3 years. But you would just have to visualize and whatnot to kind of see what was going on.
Well,
Now I don't know whether you've been in the courthouse or not. Well, it's been there ever since this happened. We had, where Herman got the water fountain, they had this water fountain, like black and white.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you ever saw it or not.
heard about it.
You heard about it? Okay. Well, he wanted the water fountain. I think they were auctioning it off or something. And he got it, and it's in our church now. That same water fountain, blacks only. So that's historical to me.
Okay.
It's in our church around on 7th Street. And another lady I don't know anything about, but just call her Aunt Creasy. You ever heard of her? But it's some reading in the courthouse that they have downstairs. If you ever go in there, just read it. Said she was a saint. She never got married or anything, but she would come to town with her cookies. She would make cookies and she would bring them for anybody who wanted, and they just loved her for that because she was doing something good. And they said she never, said she saw about people's babies and whatnot, but she still found time to help the hungry and Chrissy. So anytime you all have time to stop through there sometimes.
When you say rewarding, you said long struggle, but it's been rewarding.
Yeah, it's been rewarding because, changes, have been mixed in there too, so it didn't stay up the same way all the time. So it's maybe it's not where it should be, and I know it's not, but but it takes you a long time to come from the bottom to the top. It's called how far down you were. So it's been worthwhile the wait.
Well, as we're talking, what kind of images come forward to you about where it was, your changes? What kind of things come to mind?
Well, it's a lot that comes to mind. You didn't have to pay as much then, but I guess the amount of money might have been the same if you didn't have it. Going to college, bus fare, train fare, plane fares, and all like that. But I guess most of our transportations is like the bus and the cars, So
What about the whole idea of respect, or disrespect, or respect?
people, you mean the people
Like
giving
people,
you?
or people at the courthouse toured, people in the black community before and after the changes.
After the changes?
Well, we'll start with before and then take us into after.
Well, after the changes, it seems as if everybody tried to communicate with each other better. After this had been, put in place. So they tried to, but some that you could tell that it wasn't really there. Maybe it's coming later, but it wasn't really there. So same time as now. Well, if you see me at a different place, you might know me, you might not know me. Or you might say something to me, you might not say anything. So, it's just things like that today. You just about used to it. So you just don't you just don't bother it anymore. You just go and do what you have to do, and they do what they have to do.
Can you give some, for instance, about way back, like things that happen to you personally?
Happened to me. I can't get it in place right now. What just any
Meetings or encounters or treatment. Again, sort of around this notion of respect or disrespect.
Well, I was always able to to try to get respect and give respect and speak. If you didn't speak, okay. I mean, you had no fuss out of me. Because next time I would know.
What about things like basic calling people Mr. or Mrs. rather than by a first name?
Well, that's the same thing it is now, where they do that to me now. I do it to them too. So it's just, it's just a give and take.
Maybe elaborate just a little bit. Maybe explain a little bit further on that one.
Well, if somebody called me Anna, I don't think, I don't know, just don't think hard of them. And if I call somebody Mary, I don't think they think too much of that, because they didn't know what they just said.
What I'm trying to get is, like, let's say someone 100 years from now, 50 years from now, is listening to this tape or looking at this interview. I want them to get lessons from you about some of the before and some of the after and what it all meant.
Well, when we were growing up, this is what we were taught, to respect people with their names. Mrs. That's Miss So-and-so, that's Mr. So-and-so. But it was more prevalent with the white than the black, Just saying Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith. Okay, Herman, Anna. That was the, and then as it grew a little bit more, it was Mr. Lodge, Miss Lodge. But it's always been that and that now.
If you were to point to the achievements, the accomplishments that have happened through Burke County Improvement Association, the Supreme Court decision, what kinds of things come to mind, things that, really are important?
Well, when you think about those organizations, that was, the foundation. That's where it really started. And the people who may not know, how this, got here, it was here when they got here. They just don't know. But like you said, it's appreciated when you know a little bit more about it. And in some meetings that we, attend now, we go back and tell them, had it not been for such and such an organization, you wouldn't have had these privileges, because we stuck by, and so you stick by your club organization and support it with worthwhile activities and whatnot, and, that's just the way we have to, tell them, because it hadn't always been like this.
You ever get tired of having to continue to tell that message?
No, I don't get tired. Because you have different generations coming. Maybe somebody from that generation will tell the next one. And, just try to keep it abreast. Because things aren't taught in school now like, it used to be. You just, I guess it's in the law that you can't teach, just like they took the play out of schools and things like that.
Well, we talk about other things. Being taught in school, what were you referring to there?
Other things.
How what you're taught in school is different now than once it was upon a time.
Well, you taught with the books that you had, and the exposure that you had, and these books were like used books when we got them. Now I came along there.
Where you got the hand-downs?
Yeah, we got the second group of books. So now which state superintendent started everything, I don't know. You might know.
Started equalizing
materials and whatnot. But
if you looked around Burke County today, what would you see that would be different from Burke County 40 years ago? In terms of all these kind of things.
Some schools being built, sites are being taken from one side to another side. And recreation facilities is being upgraded, built, and they used to add on, but now they're just doing a clean slate of building. So, but it's still not look like it's not centralized for the ones who they want to use it. You want your children to use the library, right? More so than, anybody else. But it's going to be built, out of the walking area. And,
That's too bad.
and all the schools are, right, it's 3 of them right now together, and they're putting the 4th one. That one's going to be moved from over there, where the other one is. It'll be 4 schools. It's 3 over there now. So it'll be 4 schools, like, in a circle.
What about things like roads, healthcare, sewers, water, housing? If you look at Burke County today compared to before the arrival of Black political power, what kinds of things, what has that meant? In other words, I'm trying to say, what has Black political power being included meant to Burke County?
Well, I guess maybe it probably is job enhancement, which is helping them to, get in a better place to live. So, and that means a whole lot when you're comfortable. Because when you're not comfortable in a living area, you just don't feel good. So, plenty of houses, roads are being developed, better. Buses are not slipping and sliding as much. We still have some, bad roads. But they have, within the last, I would say 15 or 16 years, those roads have been developed better. That's because somebody has been going around seeing which areas needs this worse. Because we know where it used to go before, So it's a lot to look back and see changes, and you still need more changes. So you're just trying to progress a little more and more and more.
Where did Georgia Legal Services fit into all this first time?
Well, I don't know. For some reason, I just want to thank Georgia Legal Services has been the backbone, for fairness. I never got up with anything that Georgia Legal Service wasn't fair about, I can't say that about everything. Now, as far as I know, Georgia Legal Service has been, fair with whatever dealings that they came to us with.
Sure. I wanted to talk with you, Mr. Lodge, about those hearings before Judge Alima and the bus ride and, just sort of, let's take us through your memories of that period of those days, those events. Okay.
I don't know, you might get a bum deal, because that was way back when Bob Cousins
Yeah.
took us to Savannah or somewhere.
Is there severe hearings there?
Yeah,
Okay.
talked to Judge Lama. And I got where I had talked to a judge, and we had to go all the way to Providence.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
talked to Judge Lama, and he was for. I never heard him make any statement they were out of what our range what we were asking for. So I don't know. But he was good.
How do you all get permission to have so many people enter the Supreme Court room?
I don't know. Got a bus load and we went in there.
I mean, isn't it true that normally they only let in a few people, or?
No, we didn't get in there. 'Cause I remember it.
Well, let's go back maybe to Georgia Legal Services and their role in this community, not only concerning redistricting politics, but in general. You know, what are your memories of the work of Georgia Legal Services?
I think it's the best thing we had around here. I think. You know, they had a Gus office and they moved one down there.
Right.
It helped us. 'Cause we had Bob Cullen and these guys didn't mind talking to you, didn't mind helping you. It was things for me. I learned more about law. And listen to Bob Cullen, Dave Ward, and those guys. And they want to help you too.
So you got more involved with them too, right? You got
Yeah.
on the board, and were president of the board.
Yeah.
What do you recall about that?
I was just trying to help myself too.
And that was when John Cromarty was the head.
Yeah.
Right? So how would you and he work together on things?
I worked with all of them. They were good to try to help us down here.
Yeah, I noticed that, of course, right at the same time as the Supreme Court decision, the Reagan administration is also having cutbacks in legal services at that very time.
Yeah.
How did you, as the head of the board, chairman of the board, try to kind of...
Well, you have to let them politicians know and do things for yourself. You try to get the fellows who can help you. I very seldom hire a lawyer.
I'm sorry? What did you say?
I very seldom hire a lawyer. 'Cause I guess Bob Cullens and them spoil me. 'Cause I go to them and ask them, and they can give me an answer. That was the key thing, is knowing what you can say to somebody else after you talk to them guys.
About what kind of things?
By anything.
Well, like what? What would you go? What would you go and ask them about?
I don't know. I've been going to that courthouse. I'm gonna take y'all down there. And they can't jump on me like they want to jump on. Because I've been hanging around legal service too much.
Well, you know, we don't really need anything, you know, but if you want to. Okay. All right, we're probably not too much longer with this even. Well, Mr. Lodge, Your wife was saying before kind of what the courthouse meant to black people beforehand and then afterwards. And maybe you could talk about, and she was talking about the fear that was in this community before you all got started. Burke County improvement and the lawsuits and everything else that followed. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that too, you know, about what the courthouse symbol meant to people, why they were afraid.
Well, they were afraid, the blacks were afraid to go in there. And now they're not afraid. They walk in there, they go to the judge's chamber, talk to him, go in there, in the room where they have the coat, and they can talk to the judges and lawyers and all that. And I think it make them a little much better, because they feel like they own part of that courthouse. And I can walk in there now much easier than I could when I first got elected. I can walk in there. Yeah, I gotta sign something too. When I go in there, I gotta sign a check for somebody, and I gotta see it, be sure. And like I said, I've been out there 16 years. I'm gonna stay 4 more and get the heck out. But all the young ladies in the office think I'm doing a good job. And they know they can get something out of it. I ain't gonna let them use me, but I want to use them. Because they're the one getting paid by the taxes. And they're real nice to me.
Let's speak to the issue of respect before and after.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I don't know. When I first went down there, they were pretty nice to me. And now they still refer to me as Mr. Lodge. Can we do this? Can we do that?
Your wife was just talking about when you all first registered to vote in the 1950s.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you remember?
Well, none of them up there. All the people back in the day, old, want to raise H. With you, anyway. I just ignore.
Just ignored them. Do you remember anything about the questions they would ask you or what they kind of put you through to?
No.
Well, I wanted to bring up another word, not only respect, but dependence, and independence, I should say. You know, maybe you could contrast where black people in Burke County are today compared to 40 years ago.
Well, I think black folk bring a lot of this stuff on themselves. Because these plants, and they can work in them like, and nobody's going to drive you. But you got to work. I go down that courthouse, and I have a stack of checks that I have to sign. But I'm gonna sign a few checks because of their money. And I want to like me and not tell me I get my check. I said, I know you got, because I saw it. And I signed it. So,
Quite a difference, you controlling the checks from once upon a time when you couldn't even get in.
yeah.
What are you most proud of through all of this whole 40 years of Burke County Improvement Association, working for change, working to advance the community?
Well, I'm proud that black folk are in that courthouse, including myself. I went down yesterday to Peerage, the guy who is administrator and the guy who head chairman of the board of commission and myself. I enjoyed it. There were a few blacks down there. But these guys down there, seem to like the way I do things, because I tell them what I think. And they know I'm going to help with the kind. See that nobody is mistreated. Like I said, sheriff's department got plenty of blacks officers. Road department got plenty of blacks. There's some that go to it, but they doing things. Like you get another officer in the corner, you see some blacks at the desk. They know that I don't see some blacks. I don't want to see none of them ain't doing nothing, nigga. And they do their work. All right, let's go.
If you were to say to a younger person today, what are the lessons from the Burke County story, from what you all did? What would be some of the things you tell a younger person about the importance of the Burke County story?
Yeah, you gotta tell them. 'Cause there's a lot of these black, I can ride you around, a lot of these black guys walking the street young, ain't doing nothing. And they just messing up things. None of these plants want 'em. We don't want them at a kind. If we hire 'em, we want them to work.
What would you want to tell those young men? What if you wanted to just pass on something and really teach them something? What would the lesson be that you want to teach them?
I tell them what I think and try to help them if I can. A lot of these kids drop out of school. I can show you some on the street corner. They're doing really good.
So it sounds like they've almost forgotten
That's right. I don't know where they learned anything about. But you get them in some of these good positions. They can work, they can make money. And I don't mind signing a check for them.
The jobs are really right at the heart of it all.
That's right. And so I can work too.
Do you remember when you were first elected, the election, 1982? What do you recall about that?
It wasn't too nice.
Wasn't too nice. Meaning what?
I was ignored in the involvement.
You were ignored on the commission, you're saying.
Yeah,
So you had just, after all this, you've been elected, special election first and then regular election, right? And you and Mr. Harvey too, right?
right,
But at that time, you're still only 2 out of the 5, is that right?
right.
And what was the treatment by your fellow commissioners?
It was 3 of us out of 5.
Okay.
But I think one got so nice.
So you're saying, well, the treatment of your other white commissioners was what, when you got on board?
3 whites and 2 blacks.
And how would the whites respond to you all?
They responded to me good.
Meaning, what does that mean?
I didn't have no problem.
Do you remember any other things you did as chairman of the Legal Services Board, when you were president of the Legal Services Board? Towards the Legal Services?
No, I tried to help the legal service.
Is there anything else you would like to kind of put out there for the record that you think is just a very important thing for future generations, for younger people and so forth to know about Burke County?
I just wish we could do something for these young people. I could ride you around and show you black hanging on the corner and take out the plants and them people out there working. I don't know what we can do.
What did your generation have? For people like you or your wife or Reverend Ellis, Jim Holmes, Bill Holmes rather. What did you have, what kind of kept you going with all of this stuff?
I don't know, it's hard to say. Because I was Scoutmaster. And I got these kids coming, young folk. Eventually they'll fade away.
So what gave you the drive? What was it within you that kept you going, working, kept you at it?
I had a mama who cut my rear hand. She paid for me to go to school. I did a lot of work for her. She tried to tell me what to do. She did a good job. My daddy would too. But he wasn't nothing like my mom. I don't know why men hate that.
So it was your mama who
Yeah,
really kind of instilled it in you.
yeah.
Any other things you would like to say for the record, if you will? Any other last things about the importance of Burke County, what you all did?
I guess I said it all in there, but we had a few folk who want to see this county go black sometimes. And you see a lot of houses being built by black folk. And most of them are keeping their house. They're paying for it. And they keep the yards. And they paint the house. And they vote for me. That's why I'm gonna get the heck out of there.
Okay, well, I saw just driving around, how many people are keeping up their houses and, so forth. Okay, thank you. Thank you.